For more on this, let's bring in Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy. Senator Cassidy, you are not only a senator, obviously, but also a medical doctor. You know how hard the coronavirus has hit really all across the country, and your state in particular. Yours is one of the top 10 states in terms of the number of cases. But the $500 million seems to be getting, the $500 billion relief bill that you're putting together with Senator Bob Menendez seems to be getting a frosty reception in some circles in Washington.
It's been getting a very warm reception in others. Let me point out the logic. We have put up roughly $500 billion to support small businesses. If your city goes bankrupt because it's lost sales tax revenue, hotel bed tax, and maybe tourism, the industry that supports its economy, it cannot afford to pay those police officers, fire departments, sanitation workers, then all that money we gave to the restaurant to keep its doors open will be lost as garbage builds up and there is no fire or fire protection or security. Now, that does not mean we bail out the state of Illinois for unfunded accrued liability. I am totally against that. I am for making sure that we have that police, fire, and sanitation support for that small business so that they actually don't go bankrupt after we've spent $500 billion keeping them afloat.
Let's take a look at some of the elements that are in that bill. It's called the SMART Fund, State and Municipal Aid for Recovery and Transition. You want to help reopen state economies, expand testing for coronavirus, obviously, contact tracing for those who might have been exposed to the virus, and then provide additional resources to residents, local hospitals, small businesses, and schools. Are these items that are not being taken care of in the funding that's already out there?
So we're clearly talking about the next phase. If somebody has borrowed dollars two and a half times their average monthly payroll, that means we've helped them for 2.5 months. But what we're really trying to do is transition into an economy that goes forward. I would argue that if I'm traveling to another state, until I know that it's safe to travel there, I won't travel there. So this is creating that next scenario in which we can actually make sure that if I travel, I'm safe, therefore I will travel. I also point out the things you listed do not include unfunded accrued liability amassed by a state mismanaging its resources. It is about those fundamentals that allow a city government to support small businesses as they keep people employed, reopening the doors, restarting our economy.
I don't have to tell you about what this virus has done to the fiscal deficit, the federal budget, the $3.7 trillion deficit projected for fiscal year 2020. And that's, just the tip of the iceberg if we keep adding more relief programs. Not saying it isn't money well spent, but at what point do we have to stop?
We clearly have to consider that. The only thing worse would be a Great Depression, in which this $500 billion that we've spent to support small employers collapses because they don't have the support to open their doors. And instead of people getting their income from their employer, they're on unemployment. That is the only thing worse than what we are proposing. But it is a clear scenario, and we have to take steps to keep that from happening. We want Americans working. We want Americans able to get benefits from their job, earning the dollars they need to have a better life. If we don't support small business with the police, fire, and sanitation workers that they need, they will close their doors. And that's when your deficit really goes up.
Well, obviously, New Orleans has been hit very hard. It's a tourist town, and you have no tourism right now. Do you think that this amount of money is going to be able to keep a place like a city like New Orleans up and running?
We are not, I will say the way we've structured this, a third is based upon the population of the state. A third is based upon how hard they were hit by the coronavirus, and a third how hard they were hit economically. But there is a floor that all states receive something. And by the way, I will point out that the Republican legislative leaders in my state strongly in support. They understand unless we have support for a city like New Orleans, without, again, for the fire, the police, sanitation, health workers, it's going to be difficult for the economy to restart. But if we support those basic governmental functions, small businesses reopen their doors, tourists come back, then our economy gets going. It isn't so much that we are trying to keep a city on life support, it's we're trying to push them off of a trampoline so that they're bouncing on their own again. Again, it's the difference between flypaper, in which the fly stuck doesn't move, and a trampoline bouncing back to the feet so it becomes vibrant once more. This is about bouncing that city back to its feet so it becomes vibrant once more.
Well, you know, the tourists are aching to come back to New Orleans and other places like it. Senator Bill Cassidy, Republican of Louisiana, wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you, John.